Someone requested a how to care for tulip video, so that is what I'm bringing you today. Welcome back, and if you're new here, hello, my name is Dara, and today I'm very excited to be sharing with you how to care for and process fresh cut tulips. The first thing that I would recommend starting with is your design in mind firstly. Think of what you're using the tulips for, what type of design you are going to be making, and what type of tulip you will need to establish that design. You can just free willy-nilly it, because most of the time the types of tulips or flowers that I hope to find at market more often than not are not available, unless of course I've placed an order beforehand, but that is a whole other series, a whole other episode. Today we're talking about basically finding the right type of tulip for the purpose or the effect that you are designing. So if I know in my design it's going to be a loose garden style arrangement and I perhaps want to reflex out some of those petals, which if you're not familiar with reflexing is bending back petals to reveal a larger, more open, fuller looking flower. It's a very popular trend in the floral industry, and when done correctly, it looks really spectacular. So know if you are going to want to reflex your tulip first, because that will determine which type of tulip you buy. That is the first thing that I would recommend. Know what type of tulip you need for the type of design that you're using. If you are designing a more modern, compact design, using a open reflexed tulip might not be the look that you're going for. That is completely at your discretion. That is your design choice, but these are the things that you need to think about first before buying your product. Because if you buy a tulip that is too young or immature, the petals are going to be a lot harder and they're not going to be as flexible or as malleable for that reflexing purpose. So you may want to opt for something that is a lot more soft, malleable, already kind of ready to open out. So now you know the type of tulip that you're looking for. You know that you want to reflex, and you know that you need something that's going to be a little bit softer and more malleable to do that. If you're making something that's more modern and compact and very angular, you may actually want to look for something that is younger and more immature, because they're tighter, they're harder, they have a more compact feel to them. They're not as flowy. They are in themselves looking more contemporary, more modern, more sharp, more angular. And that would be more appropriate for a modern style design. Now you know what type of tulip you need. You would look, if you are reflexing them, this particular bunch is not a good bunch to reflex, so I'm not going to be showing you that today, but it is very similar as how to reflex roses. So if you would like to see that, I will link it up to the right here. If you need to see what reflexing is, how to do it, the best way to do it, this is a really in-depth tutorial that will show you exactly how to do that. First thing I do when I get them back to the studio is obviously take them out of the plastic wrap. If they didn't come in plastic, usually they may be in water already. So another tip is for the freshest tulips, and this is at a flower market. This is not indicative to grocery stores. Grocery stores have a completely different way of carrying and handling flowers. So if you're shopping at a grocery store for tulips, it is highly likely that they will be in water and in a plastic sleeve. That's totally fine. If you are a florist and you're at a flower market, the freshest tulips to look for are the ones that are on shelves. They're laying out dry, they are not in water, and they do come usually in a plastic wrap, or if they're not in plastic, which is definitely preferable, we're trying to minimize as much plastic as possible, go for the ones that are just wrapped with a little bit of an elastic and are in a 10 stem bunch. Now we get them back to our studio, our home, wherever we're making our arrangement. Go ahead and take off the plastic sleeve and the elastics, just cut all of that off. I do this on my processing table. My processing table does not look like this. This is for presentation only. My processing table, my design table, is a stainless steel table, and it allows me to work very efficiently and clean. But basically, I take my Victorinox florist knife. This is the quickest, most efficient method if you are processing a high volume of flowers all at once. The best way to do this, and for any flower really, to just basically decrease the amount of damage that is possible. Lay your flowers down on your table, take your Victorinox florist knife, cut off the elastics, and then cut up the sleeve and open out to reveal your bunch. That way you're not snagging on any of the heads of the tulips or the foliage. Then you're going to decide, again, thinking back to the type of design that you're doing. Some of you may want to keep some of the foliage on. That will determine, again, the type of design that you're making. But for me, I absolutely always take at least the damaged foliage off. You can see here some of this lower damage. Not sure if it's visible in this video, but this is clearly damaged foliage. You basically, just like most processing steps, will bend backward and down. And this is also very similar to how to care for hyacinths. This is the same kind of spring bulb flower, so the delicate care needed to take care of these is quite the same. But you basically like open the foliage out and then bend back and down and take off any of those little nodes left over. I typically tend to use this, I leave this one little piece up here. I think it looks very elegant and clean, and I leave the rest of it off. And then if I decide, once I go to design my arrangement, that I don't want this foliage, I'll remove it, but I kind of make that decision in the moment. You may already know for your design that you don't want any foliage at all, so if that is the case, go ahead and take off all of the foliage. You don't need it, and it's just wasted energy, basically, taken away from the bloom. The more foliage you take off, the more water and hydration goes to the bloom. So we definitely want that. Again, if you're processing a high volume of tulips, you have multiple bunches, you may want to just do a consolidated effort with all of your actions, and first take all of your greenery off each flower, set them aside, create a bunch. Then when you have a whole bunch, go ahead and cut the end of the bunch and put them in water. If you have one bunch and it's just a very leisurely thing for you, then that's fine. Most tulips are going to come with some sort of dirt in them that is completely natural, that is to be expected. And what you will do when you're done removing all of the foliage is just go ahead and take that entire bunch of tulips, once all of the foliage is off, over to your sink and rinse off any of that dirt that would be on the stems with cold water. And you can see here it falling to the table. And when you're removing foliage, you'll see that you get these, what I kind of refer to as like hangnails. It's the same type of thing that if those don't come off with the one stroke of removing the foliage, you will go ahead and just continue to peel that off until you get down to the node so that you get a nice clean insertion. And as you're designing, you may want to actually clean the stem up so that there are no nodes whatsoever sticking out, and you get the cleanest, most sharp stem possible for that insertion. They're just one of those flowers that you can have one of them by themselves and they create the most interesting sculptural arrangement unto themselves. You can just have one bunch of 10 stems and it's just such a treat to watch how they change and grow over the course of their lifespan. Another fun fact about fresh cut tulips is that they continue to grow after being cut. So that is one of the things you're going to keep in mind for your design as well, especially with more modern or compact designs, because every little inch that they grow is going to affect the overall design, and you want to keep that in mind. So if you're designing a wild garden style arrangement, it's really not as important to be super conscientious of that, but for your modern designs and something that you're using in a more specific, concise, or contemporary manner, you'll want to take that into consideration and create space and depth for the proper amount of space for that tulip. I always, when making a more modern design with tulips, will push them down just a little bit lower into the arrangement so that when they do grow out, it looks proportionate to the arrangement. You don't have these weird lanky stems sticking out. So now we have all of our foliage removed, and I'm going to take these now over to my sink and rinse off any of the dirt that may have occurred while we were processing. Okay, so I have my tulips all rinsed of dirt and they are super happy. Okay, so if you know what type of design you're making with your tulip, if you are making a more modern pave style design, I recommend doing this next trick. If you're making a garden style arrangement, this isn't really necessary unless you know that you need your stems to be a little bit more upright. But if you are doing it modern, I really suggest this next trick. It's very helpful. But if you want your tulips flowy and doing their own thing, this is completely unnecessary and you don't need to do this next step. With your modern design and you need more tall, upright stems, you're going to need to train them to do that. And one way to do that is simply by using the plastic wrap that it came with. If it didn't come in plastic wrap, then you can use wax paper. That's also very effective. You're going to take all of the stems, kind of arrange them a little bit so that all of the stems are flowing in the same direction. And you can set that aside. And then with your wax paper or plastic, make a little bit of a sleeve. I've got about like 2-3 inch sleeve here. It doesn't need to be huge. It's just enough so that we're wrapping this around the bunch of tulips and then we're going to staple it secure onto itself. So I've got my tulips. And just for ease of the video, I'm gonna make a little staple there. Staple here so it stays in that rectangular shape. All the stems are flowing in the same direction. And now, once you have them pretty much standing upright, you don't want to hold them so tight that they crack or break, because they are delicate and they will do that, but just enough so that there's a little bit of space. And I'll do this probably a couple inches below the head so that that way they still have room for the buds to open out, but not so much room that they're then doing that wild thing. And basically just create a little scarf, a little wrapper around it. There's still a little bit of wiggle room in there, so they can move just a tiny amount, but not, again, so much that they are getting crazy and wild. And then just create a little bit so you're not stapling the foliage. If you chose to leave those on, you can kind of leave about an inch and then staple it tight there next to it. Then you can take your entire bunch, and with your florist knife, give it a cut at an angle on both sides so that you get both angles. You get kind of a little bit of a V there, a V shape. And then place into water. This is cold water prepped with flower food. I would actually use a taller vase for these. I chose this for the demonstration, but I would, if you are using them upright, to get a vase that will allow them to also stand this tall. So just about 2 to 3 inches of space below the head. You can get a vase that's pretty tall for keeping them upright. Also, a good thing to note is keeping your stems as long as possible. If you know that you need longer stems for your design, it's a pretty obvious thing that you would want to leave your stems long, but you can't remove a cutting mistake in floral design. So it's always better to err on the side of caution with how long you keep your stems. That way, at least you have a long stem and you can cut it down as needed. If you know that you're doing a short design, then go ahead and cut them a little bit shorter to your measurements for whatever you need them for. All of the tools that you've seen here today can be purchased at my Amazon store, linked in the description box below. This Boss Stitch stapler is incredible. This is a heavy duty stapler. I love it. I use it a lot for my wrapped flowers for little purposes like this, whereas an office stapler you may be able to use for something like this, but what makes it a lot harder, this has a nice, easy handle and easy clicks, and you just get these really nice, easy application with the Boss Stitch stapler. This is in my Amazon store. The Victorinox florist knife, my favorite florist knife ever. It's the only one that'll work with, and I always use the classic red. That is my favorite. That is the Victorinox brand. That is the Victorinox brand color, and I prefer it. I don't want any other color, but they do have many different color options available if you want to express yourself in a little bit more of a fun and flirty way. I've seen yellow, I've seen pink, blue. It's pretty cool, but I like the classic red. And we have the Garden Sharp. This is one of the best tools that you can invest in for yourself. It's very affordable. It's just a handy dandy little tool specifically for your Victorinox florist knife. And I think you probably could sharpen a couple of other, like your Zenport shears. You could also sharpen with this tool, but I use it really mainly for the Victorinox florist knife. This is a beveled edge sharpener, meaning your florist knife is a beveled edge blade, and so therefore you need a beveled edge tool sharpener so that you don't damage or ruin your blade. If you use just any old sharpener on it, you risk damaging the blade, warping it, or incorrectly sharpening it. A beveled edge blade is basically a blade that has just one side of it has a bevel and the other side is flat. So you need a tool, a sharpening tool that mimics that exact shape so that you're not sharpening both sides of the blade. There's only one way to slice with these blades, so this is a very critical tool to have and extremely easy to use. You just give it a couple of swipes and it keeps your tool nice and sharp. And also I have here, I always sanitize my tools before I design. It's a very easy way to keep them clean and germ-free. It's better for the flowers, and it also makes designing really, really easy. You'd be amazed at how much sharper and quicker you can perform after just having sterilized your tools. This is a basic glass bottle. You can find this anywhere, but if you need it quickly and easily shipped to you, this is also in my Amazon store. But it's basically just I think this is a six ounce glass bottle with a mist to it, and I put 90% alcohol diluted in half with just tap water and spray on my tool to sterilize. I usually let it sit for about 30 seconds or so that it does its sterilizing trick there, and then wipe it off. If you need rags for designing, these are great. These come in handy because, as you know, or if you don't know, working in a flower shop is extremely dirty. So having a rag or something to just constantly clean up water, dirt, debris, everything that's around you while you're designing is very handy. And of course, this wouldn't be a FLORA LUX tutorial without showing you the Zenport shears. These are my favorite, my all-time favorite shears. These are specifically for fine detail work. So when you are designing and you need to cut off little buds, little nodes, little thorns, this is the tool to use. This is extremely lightweight. This design essentially mimics those Japanese bonsai tools that you get. They're very sharp and fine. They're two beveled edge blades that come together almost like a florist knife, but as shears. And at the tip of it, there's a very fine tip, so it makes really easy, quick little sharp incisions, and it makes all of that detail work just so much easier than using garden shears, which is way too clunky and too big for fine detail work. So these are my favorite all-time tool. Then we have the Floral Life Finishing Touch. You're just gonna give that a vigorous shake and then mist 12 inches away from the flowers all around so that it gets a nice fine mist. And this spray is really good for locking in moisture. This is a wax-based moisture sealant for flowers, and I never finish an arrangement without Floral Life Finishing Touch. This is my absolute must-have. All of the tools that I've used here today can be purchased from my Amazon store, linked in the description box below, where you can get everything shipped directly to you. It's very quick and easy. Also, I'm going to be hosting a floral design class. If you'd like to receive direct notification from me as to when that class is launched, make sure that you sign up at my email subscription, and you can also find that link in the description box below. And it's basically, you go to my website and scroll to the bottom of any page, and there is a sign up footer where you can just enter your email and you'll be added to my email list so that you can get direct communication from me as to when that class launches. I'm very excited to be offering this. I am currently working on that offering, so sign up now so you can get on the waiting list to be notified when that class is released. And let me know if there's anything in particular that you are interested in learning that'll give me inspiration for which types of classes to create for you. Please let me know in the comments below what kind of class you're interested in. Do you want to learn how to make a small pave arrangement? Are you interested in a dining centerpiece arrangement? Do you need to learn how to do a tall foyer arrangement? Let me know in the comments below the types of designs that you're interested in learning, and I will put that on my list of inspirational ideas of what classes to make for you guys. This is going to be a live Zoom. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a Zoom thing. Again, I'm still figuring out this platform. But basically, I will create a design and then we will work on it as a small group together. And all of the product that I will be designing for that arrangement, all of the specific ingredients, everything will be shipped directly to you in a box, the vase and the flowers. So this is gonna be a really cool way to make an arrangement together, possibly with your friends, or if you want to do a one-on-one, we can also do that. But I'm going to be accepting classes of no more than 10 students at a time, so that it's a very small class, and it's going to be very cool and intimate, and you'll get to learn a specific Floral Lux design. So very excited to host that class. Again, sign up for my email list to be notified when I release that class in the description box below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you learned something new today and that this video was helpful to you. If it was, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more floral design education and entertainment. Thank you again so much for watching, and see you in the next video. They're so gorgeous. I love them. I love them.